All right, so we're ready to continue working on the project. Right before this, I went and recorded a use effect sort of tutorial, and I put that back in there. So if you remember me going back in time to do that, this is where that happened. Okay, so continuing on, our testing is showing that we're now missing this data test title. So we're on the single to-do page. We have tasks, it has the right ID. We're loading this one up, but now we need to actually like display out the title for a task. Looking through our solution, we do have a BB text component. I'm thinking about using something like this, but we want this to now be able to do like just normal text and a title. So to me, that's an enum that we're gonna want to do. So I'm gonna do a pub enum. I guess this is gonna be like a text type. So we're gonna have like normal. That's probably going to be our default that we can set. On top of that, we're going to want, okay, so normal is going to be like a p tag. We're going to have maybe a title, which is going to be an h1. There's some things we're going to have to derive here. So begin with, we don't need properties, but we do need clone and partial equal. And then in our properties, we will state that you should be, okay, we'll have the, we can make it an option because then we can do the option or default. So let's also impl default for this. So I now have like one too many of these there. So impl default for text type. Default, we're gonna do self normal. Okay. Then in here, we're gonna do a pub. Okay, so for our props, we're gonna have our text type, and you're gonna be an option with a text type. Okay, that means we don't have to necessarily do anything. When we want to grab that out, we can right here. So let our text type is going to be equal to props dot text type, and then we're going to unwrap or default. Let's see, cannot move out. We can clone. Unfortunately, we can't implement copy for this because actually, can we implement copy for like the subtype? Let's try. Put that next to clone. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we can just copy this out. It's a very simple enum. We have no data in this. It's not gonna like take any extra space really to copy that out. So that makes us happy. We can now, for this HTML, we could have different style sheets because that's gonna be like font size might come into play here. The data test, however, probably will be the same no matter what. We could also just have multiple functions that return. I could see like a couple ways of us going about this. Let's try it for like very basics. Let's see. We have our style sheet there. What if we would do a function? Function, and we're gonna be like maybe just like create the text. Now we are gonna take the text type, which is gonna be a text type. We can take ownership of that, that's fine. Then we also are gonna need the props. Okay, so like we need the data test. which we know is going to be a string. In this case, I wonder if I could just do a stir. And we can just grab that out. Although we're having to clone right here. I think we have to clone eventually, so I might as well just make this be a string. Okay. And then we have the actual just text, which is, now this one looks like it can be a stir. And okay, so we have you. You're now going to return HTML, which we can now match on our text type. And I also wonder if I want to do it the other way around, have different functions for each one. And then we just call those different functions. That might have been a better idea for this. I'm already sort of like thinking about it differently. I'm gonna comment this out so I can use it for reference for like what it previously was. If I match the text type here, we have the text type normal, we have text type title. What if I just do normal text? Now we don't need to take in a text type. We're going to take in the data test. We're going to take in that text. That's going to be fine. We're going to return this HTML. What if now we move this style sheet down here like this? I don't need to match anymore. Now we're going to take this HTML and move you down here and uncomment you. And that's exactly what you are. So, I thought you were already imported. Okay, so you need now data test. Okay, so you're going to be the data test, and our text is going to be this text. Okay, happy enough. Then we're going to call that for normal. So normal text, pass it in. This is going to be our props dot data test. And then we'll just go ahead and clone you. And for this text, it's going to be I think it can be a reference of the text. What did we do before? I think it's going to be a props.text and reference it. Okay, that should make you happy. So now normal text should still be fine. And everybody that's using normal text right now doesn't need to change anything at all. It's just going to go through here because normal is the default. Title, however, is going to be slightly different. So let's create a new function for this. I want this to be an H1. We're going to put in our just text inside of here. We're going to have our data test equals this data test. Okay. Also for this H1, okay, we're going to have a class equals this style sheet. That way, only one of these will load up at a time per sort of title or text that we have. And then here, let's see, what do we have? For you, we have our, what are we thinking? We're thinking probably like a font size of let's try like 72 and sort of see how that feels. Now we can go to a task page. So we have that as the one task to make it a little bit easier to see than the tasks organism. We have a props, which just is the ID. Let's just go ahead and replace you. Use crate, components, atoms. Okay, so we need BB text, and we're also going to need text type. And okay, so we're gonna put in BB text. Text type is gonna be equal to text type. I think you're a title. What else do we have? We have the data test. Cypress says that's just going to be title. And I think that's it. I think that's the only thing we really care about here. Where is... There we go. Okay, so see my details. If we're clicking on me, and if I see... wait, no, this is the one thing. If I come in here, we have... Here's our one task. Oh, we don't have... We actually have the tech. We're missing that. Task equals, this is the title. There we go. That's a lot happier. We don't need the style sheet anymore, at least right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. Well, that's not happy. What's going on? Panic that not yet implemented. So BB text line 29. Oh, because I have this to do, I'm not calling that function. Okay, so we're going to do a title text, pass it in. The data test is the same thing. Props.data test. Clone that. The text is going to be a reference to props.text. And there we go. Okay, we now see the title here. Okay, that's not too bad. I do want this to be centered though. Now I don't necessarily want this text to know that it's going to be centered. So I think under one task, I think I want to bring back the style sheet. We're going to have a wrapper around this. Let's do this as like a section. Okay, so we'll have our class equals, no, you need to be like that. And for right now, let's have, how do I want to do this? We can maybe give this a class. So class equals maybe a title. And then we'll grab that title and say, I want you to be centered. So title, text align, center. Oh, you have an error. Oh, because I can't do a class on this. So we need to figure out like how do I want to like sort of add any other classes in here. I could just wrap this in something. We could tell it that I want to be centered. I kind of like the idea of adding in new classes to like throw in here. So what if I do something like classes? I mean, right now, as long as it just takes in one, I think we could be okay with that. So back into BB here for this props, add in a class. This is going to be I mean, it's going to be a string. Because I don't want to give it like I could make it just like a static stir, but I'll make it a string, which means that you need to be, oh, that should be fine. Then coming down here, oh, navbar. Now you need to set what type of class that I want to have in it. Oh, okay, you need to be an option. So class, it's going to be an option string. Okay, so that makes everybody else happy. Okay, you're happy here. We're gonna now take this class, get out the default one. That should be easy enough, and we now need to add in for each of these the extra classes. So class is gonna be, I guess it's just gonna be a string. That, and then string there. Okay, and then here. Now we have class here, so I want to change you. Do this here first. Change this to class. Oh no, it's still class, I think. And then we're going to use the classes macro to throw in the style sheet and this class. And then we want to do the same exact thing here. And then you're now taking the class as this final thing. So that's going to be props dot class dot unwrap or default. Cannot move. Oh, well, I don't want to move, so fine. We'll clone you. Okay, so that should work now. And here we go. Now you're centered. Okay, so we have the title coming in. I kind of want this to be the real title. That being said, we should be able to rerun our Cypress test. And it should get at least the next step where it checks to see what that is, to make sure that it's exactly what we think that it is. Okay, so it gets, oh, it did not get data test title. Oh no, it did. Okay, so it found the title, but it expected it to contain I am a task, you can complete me by checking the box. Obviously, we did not find that one. So we now need to get the task by this ID. So when we load you, one task, that's what we need to grab. So let's go ahead and see. How do I want to get that? I'm thinking we're gonna obviously use state and use store. Grab it from the Yew.rs store. When we get that out, we actually have the full store, which means we can add in a method to it to maybe like get something by ID. I think that would work. So let's first let's make sure we can grab this this ID out. I think there's a is there a use router? Oh, there's a use context. Let's see, ref state Producer, node ref. There's a dispatch. I don't see any other uses. Oh, but you know what we can do is bring in Yew.router. And see if that changes what we have access to. Now we have access to use history, use location. I bet one of these will help with us. Possibly a use location, possibly the use history. Looks like those are the only two. Let's go and do a little bit of research. So I want to go find in the router. Let's see if there's anything in here. When using use router, obviously we're using browser router. And specifically, we want that that sort of like ID that's passed in. Okay, so for struct components, contact link, history, that's let's see, query parameters. Oh, but you're not obtaining query parameters. Location.query is used to obtain the query parameters. Okay, so do I have access to use location? I do. Okay, so we have use location. We're going to take in probably the location here. Oh, 0 arguments, found 1. That's not what I was expecting. Let's see if we can find like a use location. Use location. Oh, they don't actually say how to use it. They just say, hey, you can use it. Okay, so let's find history and location. Oh, it's okay, it's like this then. So I don't have to use that at all. We're gonna do let our location equals to you. It's an option, so we are gonna unwrap you. The reason why we can unwrap you is this is inside the browser router, so we know it's always gonna be there. So now we have this location. So then I want the ID. So this is gonna be the task ID. Let's see if we can get that out of location here. So location dot query. Okay. Query. It gives us a result. We should never get here without having an ID. Okay, so you query has a type, gives us a history result, doesn't take in anything, returns a queries of current URL parsed as T. Okay, so then what are you? Type annotation. So let's go into the router and sort of take a look at what we have. This route in here has, okay, so we're gonna get this parsed as like whatever this ID is. So I wonder if I can give it like just a U32 that I want out, or if I need to change this to be like a tuple type or something else. Because I don't have, that's an anonymous type right now. I don't have anything for that. So let's see. Query, we need to set U. I don't think I can do an anonymous type in here. That seems, I don't think I can also say like, hey, I just want the U32 thing. I think this is gonna panic when it gets this. Here, let's try this. We'll log out. We'll log out the task ID. And I would imagine that, yep, panicked at result unwrap. Okay, value is invalid, type map expected U32, but got a map. Basically, it's that it's the entire component. So we need to fix something else instead. That's gonna be, let's see, what is that going to be? We could give it a specific type. That might work. I wonder if we can also give it like a tuple and like switch it around, and just say like, hey, I want you to be like a tuple of a U32. And in a case here, this would be one task. Okay, now you're a tuple type. So now you have the ID, and then we pass in the ID like that. Okay, you're happy. Oh, only named fields are supported. Okay, never mind. You have to be like this. We have to give you an actual type. This is going to have to be like a specific an ID type. So we're going to do a pub struct. I guess it's going to be an ID query ID query ID. Maybe it should be like one task query parameters. That way, in case like other things change, we don't have to like sort of move around and change everything else. And we're gonna do a pub ID is a U32. Now you are going to be, can I now say what type you're gonna be as like not an anonymous struct? So one task query. No, because that would need to be like a oh, that's not gonna work either. Oh, so you do have to be anonymous here. We're gonna grab that out. Oh, put that back. ID is U32. Okay, can I just try telling you to be a anonymous? I wonder if it's gonna do some kind of like into or something like that. Try to set that up and using like a macro behind the scenes. But if I say like an ID U32, I can't imagine that's gonna work. Yeah, it's like this is not right syntax. Although set the type like that. Yeah, it's like, what are you trying to do? This is kind of weird. So let's try setting up like a query here. So pub struct our query params. We're gonna have a pub ID, which is U32. What if I set you in here? So you're this query type. Location of query. So you've taken this type, the trait found, okay, so you need serialize and deserialize in here. Oh, it's gonna deserialize into this. I wonder if that's why it's going to work, or maybe. Okay, so let's deserialize, serialize. Okay, and now task ID can't do that, so let's task ID. See if you're happier. No, okay, so we got a result unwrapped, missing field ID. Okay, so I'm not getting that either. So this is not exactly what we're going for. So let's head back into the documentation. Let's see if we can find out. See, there's a couple things in here. So in router, they show this thing like news ID U8. So we're doing that. And then I want to get that out. Okay, so post. Oh, I wonder if I can't. Well, no, I should be able to get out because they're talking about being able to like get the query parameters. Um, Although that being said, I realized that we're actually handling this already, and I don't need to worry about this because we already have the ID in here right now. I can just do log the props.id. Don't need to do any of this use location actually. Don't need this query. We're back to being good and happy, and we're getting that. In this case, it's ID 31. So I'm already passing it as a property. I think that's going to be fine for right now. Maybe when we do more advanced stuff, we'll go over like grabbing that out of the query. I'll have to figure it out for that too. Okay. Continuing on with that, we want to actually get the text. Let's see if I can do this in the time that I have. I want to go back into the store. We're using the Yew.rs store, which is very similar to the React Redux store. Although I like this one a little bit more. It's just a little bit easier to set up, I think. So we're gonna do store. I want to actually impl for the store to have a method on it that's going to then allow me to then get a task by an ID. So let's do a impl store hub function. Sort of like we're going to do get task by ID. We'll take in I don't need to mutate this, so it's just a reference to self is going to be fine. And then the ID, which we know is going to be U32. And we're going to return a reference to a task. This should work because we're not actually removing anything from tasks. We're not going to get multiple at the same time, and we don't need to like mutate anything at the same time. So hopefully we should be fine here. Okay, so getting this ID, we need to first find this. So that's going to be self.tasks. That's a vector. So there is no like find on here. So we can first get into an iterator. I'm not doing into because I don't want to take ownership of it. Now we can do a find, which is going to give us a, let's see, we're going to have our predicate, which is going to be a method, sort of like this callback function, but in Rust it's called a closure. And we can see here an example. So we take in X, which is going to be a single task. And then if it returns true, it found it. And if it returns false every single time, it'll be a none. Okay. So this is actually going to be an option task, isn't it? So we're going to have each task coming in here. I want to do task.id is equal to ID. and I want to return the result of this. Now you're going to yell at me because this is return. Oh, come on. This is returning an option reference to task. So let's just wrap an option around this. Just like that. Okay, so back to one task. I now want to use the store to grab those tasks out. So I want to do a let task equal to, okay, so we're going to do a use store. We have to give it the type. We actually gave it a sort of a wrapper type for this. This is a store type. Okay, so that gives us this. That gives us the store. We want to do a state. Then we want to get task by ID. We want to pass it that ID. So that's going to be the props.id. Okay. That is a copy type, so it should be fine, sort of like copy in there. If I do that, see, no method named, oh, because we have an option in state. Oh, state gives us, we have to map this. So hold on, we have to do the map. I want to, inside of here, we're gonna have the store. So store dot get task by ID, props.id. We might have to do a move for this. And at the very end, we're going to do an unwrap or default. I don't know if the task has a default. Oh, actually, no, it's perfect. So now we have this option task here. So excellent. And because it's a copy type, it just moves, it just sort of copies in here and we don't need to worry about it. Okay, so now we have this option of a task. So if we don't have a task, like if we've done the wrong one or something, and like we've navigated to one where the ID isn't correct and it didn't find it, then we probably want to like just like navigate somewhere else. So let's get that navigation. So we can do a let history equals use history. We can unwrap you. We're going to do a push to probably just go back home. So do use, where was that? That was in create router route. Okay, so I want to get out the task here. We could match here, or I could just do this in a different line here. That might be better. So let's shadow task. Let's do it. Let task equals, I'm gonna match on task. Okay, so if we have a sum, we're gonna take the task out and just return it. Now, if we have a none, it's gonna be a little bit more complicated. We want to actually just like leave this and like go somewhere else. So we want to, let's see, what are we gonna do? I want to history push. So history.push. We're gonna do a route home. We're gonna go back home. Then I do want to like sort of stop running any other code. I don't think I need to like do an HTML. I don't know if this is gonna work right away. We can try a like return. I do have to return HTML though. So I could do like an HTML, something like that. I don't think this is gonna matter at all. See, I think that is technically valid HTML. Okay, so that calling you. And what are you upset about? Temporary draw. Okay, so you store typed. Because the stores is dropping, I might need an actual clone of the task. Which in that case is a little bit unfortunate. I need to like get the task out. I was hoping that I could just grab you. Maybe in here. If I clone you, then you're still upset. Which is so we're gonna have to rethink this of how we're going to grab out the state. Okay. And unfortunately, I'm out of time for right now, so I'm going to leave this for the next video that we do, and we'll fix this up then. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.